Welcome, everyone. I'm very happy to see you here this evening as we, again, stick to Council's direction and leadership in relationship to their want for transparency. We began this journey about 5.5, 6 months ago, as you're aware, and we had an incredibly challenging situation. And not to say that it's still not challenging. Obviously, it still is. But a lot of work has been done over the last number of months, and we wanted to share that with you this evening and let you know where we stand today. The other thing, as I mentioned in past open houses, is we are here to hear from you. So questions, and any question is on site. If there's anything you want to ask, no questions that we won't try to answer. The other thing, again, and it's been the last couple of town halls we've had have been, quite frankly, fantastic from a public engagement perspective. We've really appreciated the openness, the patience with us. There's frustration. We understand that, but it's been very respectful. And again, the big word for tonight again is respect. And again, we'll show the crowd respect, and hopefully you'll show council and administration respect. We have information to share with you tonight, and we're going to basically kind of let you know a little bit about all the work that's been done over the last number of months. Before we get going, I'm going to have each of the councillors introduce themselves to you this evening, maybe give you a couple comments before we begin on what their thoughts about tonight are, and we'll move on from there. Okay, which end am I going to start on? I'm going to start on this end because you deserve it. So go ahead, Travis, you're number one.
You just introduced me, so I'm Travis Curry, first-time councillor, same with everyone else here. Long-time listener, first-time councillor. I'm from Gibbons. And I know several of you here, and I think that's about it for now, I suppose.
Daryl Burak, first-time councillor. Glad to see you guys showed up tonight. Tonight we're going to be going over the budget and where we're sitting. We encourage everyone to ask as many questions as possible. Put us on the spot. We don't mind. That's kind of what we're here for, and we want to make everyone as comfortable as possible with what the future Gibbons is.
Darren Longstaff, been a resident here since 2001, so this means just as much to me as it does to the rest of you and the rest of council, I'm sure.
Good evening, and thanks for everybody for coming out. Not a very pleasant evening to be out and about with the strong winds. You'll see tonight by the presentation, this is just the start of a long road ahead. We have an important engagement at the end of June, 2 dates for a viability review, June 24th and 25th. So write those dates down on your calendar, very important for our town.
Good evening. My name is Robert Smonowitz, first-time councillor. I've been living in town since 1979, and welcome everybody for coming tonight, and please ask questions. The other thing is you'll hear information on our budget, and I'm also excited to hear about some cost-sharing proposals that we have in the works. So thank you very much.
Again, welcome all. Ashley Morrison, first-time councillor. I recognize most faces here, so I think you already know that. We're really happy that you come out to these forums. Please, this is your opportunity to ask questions and hold us accountable if we're not doing what you are expecting us to be doing.
Is this one? Charlotte St. Germain, first-time councillor. I've lived in Gibbons since 2012. We're glad you all came out. Thank you. Yeah, we just want to hear from you. We want your voices heard. Thank you.
Okay. So with that, I have some information to share with you tonight. I'm going to go through it as quickly and painlessly as I can, but admittedly, there's a lot of financial kind of information I'm going to share with you that may not be overly easy to understand, but I'll do my best to explain it in the best way and easiest way that I can. One of the things, and again, I'm using a most tonight again, so I don't have my clicker, this will be difficult, is one of the key things when it comes to municipal finance that we want to make sure is very clear to you as our residents, is that municipalities are in the business of one very simple thing, and that's to provide quality of life for people. It's not as complicated as we make it, but we clear snow, we cut grass, we provide fire and emergency services, fill potholes, have family community services to help support people, have recreation assets, those types of things, and every day it really adds to people's quality of life. And that's really the business that we're in. And there is do you mind doing this for me right here? Okay, thanks. There is a very simple equation to that, and that is that to be able to manage, to deliver the quality of life and the services that we provide, we have to charge taxes, utility rates, and fees and charges. And one of the key things about the municipal business that sometimes is misunderstood is we don't take a profit home. It's basically a break-even business. So we do our best, and basically the budget process is pretty simple, is we do a lot of work to basically determine exactly what the costs are, and then we turn that into a tax rate, and from a water perspective and sewer and refuse, we turn that into a utility rate, and that's it. So there's not a lot of mystery behind that. We just do our best to really, in a sense, flow the costs through taxes and utility rates. This is a slide, I know probably many of you can't see that. These are slides I created back in the early 2000s, by the way, when I was presenting budgets with Strathcona County. And there's a very simple concept that we have to follow in municipal government, and that is balancing budgets. It's actually it's not legal through the Municipal Government Act for us to basically have what we call deficit budgeting. So we have to balance budgets. And admittedly, that was a big problem for the town of Gibbons for years, is that essentially you were running on unbalanced budgets for many years, and that was essentially being balanced with transfers from basically debt, operating debt, which I'm going to share some information with you tonight. When you do that, eventually you run out of debt, run out of cash reserves, and you hit a wall, which happened last year, which is essentially was running out of those reserves. And so you have to balance your services costs to the revenue coming in. And if you don't do that, you'll eventually run out of money, which is what happened here. There's eventually three key things that we look at when we're budgeting. We have capital. So one of the key things municipalities take care of is hard assets, roads, vehicles, buildings, ice plants, recreation assets, family community services buildings, basically the assets that we own are helping deliver services each and every day. So the grass doesn't get cut by itself if we need a mower. Your fire doesn't get responded to by just a bunch of firefighters running with buckets of water. We need a fire truck. The list goes on and on and on. So capital assets are absolutely key and critical to delivering services each and every day, and so we must take care of our assets. And we do this through asset management, we do this through transfers to reserves, and in some cases we do this through taking out debt to sometimes maintain and replenish the assets we have. So a very important thought is capital. The second component of good municipal budgeting is essentially taking care of operations. So every day we have people working. Every day we have electricity and heat that's warming our buildings. Every day we're using things like fuel. So we have significant costs that go out the door every day to basically serve you. So again, snow clearing means labor, it means fuel. Using this asset tonight means electricity, it means heat. So we have general operating costs that we have to budget for and take care of. So a very important thing to consider. I just want to share this with you. The number one challenge for municipal government, bar none, is inflation. It's the most challenging thing municipalities deal with from a financial perspective each and every year. I've been doing this for a long time. What's the biggest challenge we have right now? Municipalities across Canada, well, quite frankly, across the world are significantly challenged because of the cost of fuel. I mean, one of our main commodities to help support you each and every day has literally doubled in the last 3 or 4 months, and so that's become very challenging for us from a budget perspective. The final thing is, it's okay. The final thing is we have what's called restricted, unrestricted surplus, essentially reserves. So we put money in the bank, just like you do in your household. So you're going to put money away for rainy days. You're going to put money away to take care of your car if it breaks down. You're going to put money away maybe for planning for a holiday. Municipalities, in a sense, aren't all that different. We put money away, though, for things like replacing our vehicles. We put money away for fixing up buildings occasionally, maybe the ice plant. We put money away for rainy days and possible disaster mitigation. And so having money in reserve is key and critical to sustainable municipalities. And again, sometimes this is misunderstood. People go, well, you're putting all this money away and it's sitting in the bank, well, you're overtaxing me. That's not the case. That said, there is work that we do to ensure that the reserves are basically at the right balances. It's called optimal balance, basically methodologies. But at the same time, we want to ensure that we have money in the bank. Again, as you know, this was another critical thing that we had to discuss early in basically our time with you. We didn't have any money in the bank. It was basically went out the door to basically pay for capital assets that went into the ground for development and for other things over the years. And so we're looking at replenishing that now. Now, moving along, the specific of our operating budget. So we are looking at our tax revenue increase of 8.2%. This results in basically 5.2% for basically our general base budget. And as I mentioned before, this is to cover off the services that I just talked about. It also includes things like inflation, changes to service levels and whatnot. The one thing we were here about 5 months ago, that number was over 120%. Is what we started with when we looked at this budget as we began. So a lot of work has been done to basically get it down to what we consider was manageable. Now, some will say, well, 8.2% is very high, and that's a lot, and I don't disagree that that may be challenging. But I also want to state that this is basically the average in Alberta right now. In fact, there's a lot of municipalities that are higher than this right now. So 8.2%, we believe, is not an unreasonable amount considering the challenges we've had. About 5% is going into basically covering off our base, and 3% is going to replenishing those reserves I just talked about. So this is basically part of our long-term financial plan. We're going to start putting money away so we can start taking care of tomorrow. And again, something that we do have to do to make sure that the municipality survives. This is a balanced budget. It reduces the long-term risk because we are going to be preparing for future financial needs. And again, it's a multi-layered strategy, which I'm going to talk about here in a few moments. Moving on. One of the things that's very important to note is as we look at the challenges that we face as a town, we are literally between, say, for example, our comparatives, Bonnecourt and Redwater, still close to 15 to 20% less than they pay for the same house for taxes. So that's an important thing to note, is that we're actually a little bit lower than our comparables. We're a bit higher than Thornhill County and Sturgeon County, but when we compare to the towns, we're actually lower than the others. So to say that we were maybe in a tax position that was unfair or unreasonable, we're not. So I think that's important for us to realize as we kind of move forward. One thing I would say is important to note, though, is that when we look at our comparables like the county, a person who lives in the county pays less than half of the property taxes for the same home. And so I think that's an important consideration as we start talking about collaboration and working together. Okay, moving on. So how did we do this? One of the things that we looked at was basically understanding that we're going to have a leaner, basically, organization. This meant making some tough decisions. There's one of the key things about municipal government, and a lot of people have a hard time understanding this when they start first looking at the municipal business, is that we are a people-driven business, which means the grass doesn't get cut without a person on the mower, the fire truck can't show up to a fire call without a firefighter, the recreation complex doesn't get opened without a person working there. That also means from a cost-cutting perspective, we actually don't have a lot of areas that are really basically easy to find a lot of money in other than staffing in a lot of cases. So in the case of the town, we really did a lot of work looking at the organization and trying to determine what were the right service levels for a town of this size. So we actually eliminated approximately what would be the equivalent to 14 positions within the town. Now, one of the things I want to get make clear right now, just to again maybe create some, I guess, calm in basically the decisions we made, is that of those 14 positions, all but two were with the town for less than 2 years. Many of those positions, around 7 to 8, had been hired within the last 2 years for new work to be done. That means we had a significant increase in service levels, and basically this idea that we were going to be doing a lot more work over the last years because of the thought that a lot of development was going to come in because of the investment that we put in. It didn't materialize. So in my mind, we feel we're not actually significantly cutting down service levels. And again, there are things that have changed, but is it a monumental change where we're not going to be filling potholes or clearing snow or cutting grass? No, that's not going to happen. There are some changes I'm going to share with you tonight, but on the most part, we feel it's manageable. But it's manageable because we're going to change the way that we look at performance and the way that we train people as well, and I'll share that with you in a few moments. The staffing changes supported about $1.2 million in savings, and then we looked at other things, and we did an extensive review of your actual results over the last 5 years. We also made some hard decisions in terms of maybe some things that we can't do right now, and so we found about $400,000 in savings in goods and services, about $300,000 savings in contracted and professional services, and $200,000 in savings in repairs and maintenance. And when we look at things, it's over $2 million in savings altogether, and a 1% increase for the town is what ran about 35%. 37,000. So 37,000 is a 1% increase. So quick math, Ryan will figure it out for me, but $2 million is a savings of a lot. So I'll get Ryan to figure that out and we'll go from there. Next slide, Ryan. Sorry. The next thing that we did, again, is we were talking about reserves. That $2 million reduction in costs was also complemented with us looking at revenues that we determined or thought were not realistic. And you had about almost $3 million of revenues that were not realized in your actuals when that was budgeted, and we fixed that. That said, we have done a bunch of work on looking at the developments that were, the infrastructure was put in the ground, and we've worked very hard and diligently to develop frameworks on what's called a local improvement bylaw, and we're looking at your offsite levy bylaws, and the changes that we're going to make in those will result in development agreements that are enforceable. And we've received legal opinions on that. That does mean that we're now going to be in a position to recover the money we put in the ground. So we have put that money in the budget, but have also offset that with transfer to reserves. So if it doesn't work, and we end up with challenges from a legal perspective with the people that we're going to be looking to recover the money from, we just don't transfer the money to reserves. So our base budget is no longer at risk. We have no risk in terms of our ability to basically run services or have it to increase taxes or put ourselves in a situation where we have to take out significant loans to cover our budget. That is no longer the case. We have balanced the budget with money we know that is assured, basically tax dollars. So that's a very important consideration that we've made a change on. We believe right now, base transfers by the end of this year, we'll be able to transfer $1 million into reserves and possibly up to $3 million. And if things work out and things look like they're starting to work out, we could see a balanced budget and a replenishment of our reserves of up to $3 million by the end of this year, which is a significant change. It's still just the beginning, but it is a significant change. Again, this is critical to building our long-term financial sustainability, and I can't stress this enough. We can no longer budget just basically based on a balanced budget without putting money in the bank. We have to just stay sustainable. This means having the ability to handle a water line break, or if we had a roof failure or something significant, we need to be able to take care of those things. That means that we do need to replenish our reserves, and so we're going to work very hard on that. Next move. Okay. Capital projects, and so this is an area, admittedly, we've had to really tighten our belts on. Our debt capacity is very stretched, so I'm going to share exactly what our debt is tonight, but we decided we didn't want to take out any additional debt. We have to be very careful with our grants. We've received permission to use some of our capital grants and turn it into operating funds, which again is a really positive thing from a cash flow perspective to get us on track. But that also means that we had to tighten our belts and deal with having to use maybe some of the capital assets we have and not change over things very quickly. And so we've really cut this back. That said, we have our skid steer buyback program, so this is positive for us. We have to upgrade our reservoir, so we're going to do that. And we're buying a vac truck. So I think this is something that was a real sore point for everybody, and I think we went from monthly pay of about $15,000 a month, which is what it costs, down to Okay, so we're down to about $5,500 a month in terms of, and we own it now, so that's a big difference as well. Okay, so again, debt funding, which is really important, is capital does tie to debt, and sometimes there is good debt. I'm going to explain that here in a few moments, but I can guarantee you this budget now is not taking out any new debt, and we're certainly not covering operations with operating loans any longer, which is a very important consideration. Okay, moving on. So we are working on a long-term financial plan. Elements of this are a long-term financial plan. But if you saw the budget presentation, and maybe some of you have, we are looking at tax increases that are similar to what we've had this year in future years. And again, if you look around Alberta, most municipalities from a long-term financial planning perspective are forecasting between 5 to 9% every year for the next 3 to 4 years because they're having to combat with inflation. So we're not all that different than other municipalities right now. So we feel our plan is reasonable, challenging but reasonable, but it is a plan to get us back on track. And simple math, this includes significant buy down of debt in future years, replenishment of reserves in future years, and a balanced budget. And like I said, I give this council all the credit. They were able to achieve this in 5.5 months, which has people honestly around the province calling and going, how the heck did that work? You know, how did they do that? Hard decisions that were being, you know, the council was willing to make some tough decisions, which we appreciated. It allowed us to do the work that we needed to do. So this does include future debt buy downs. There's been some thought that we're not buying down debt. That's not accurate. We are buying down debt. We have renegotiated though with the province on a bunch of debentures, about 5 or 6 of them, I believe, we've turned into one debenture, and we renegotiated to get our principal payments down for basically 3 years where we don't have to make the principal payments. That is providing us with the runway to start putting money in the bank and plan for our debt buy down plan in 3 years. So there is concern, and everybody says, well, what happens in 3 years? You don't have money to pay out the debt. What happens when the principal payments come back? We then switch over to the reserve plan that we're going to have in place to start paying down the debt. So we're smoothing it out by putting a bunch of money in the bank. We should have considerable money in the bank after 3 years with the plan that we've developed. Okay. So the 3-year financial outlook, again, is consistent. It does have measured and consistent tax increases. The last thing we wanted to do was have a spike like this. You know, when we first looked at it, we're looking at 120%, and then we did a bunch of work, we got down to 60%, and now we've got it down to 8.2%. And then looking at 7 and 7 and 7 is our forecast, but it's like this. And so we know what we're going to be looking at, right? Rather than this and this and this and this. And so we feel it's consistent and we feel it's reasonable, and it solves a lot of the issues that we had when we first started. So I think that's a good thing. Okay. Moving along. So did we have to make service level adjustments? Yes, we did. Now, one of the things that I will say, I've been doing this for a long time. I worked in very big municipalities. I've also worked in small ones. My favorite job of all time was CO Bruderheim, where it was my first small town CO job, and I loved that place. It was a lot of fun, but I learned a lot there. But I'll also say this, is that the service levels that were basically funded here were way beyond what a municipality of this size would normally have. And I'll just say it, when we started working, there was a lot of time staff had basically to plan, I guess, let's put it that way. And we kind of right-sized that down to where we feel the resources are now are at the right levels for the services that we want to provide. And we feel it's manageable. And we do believe that we'll be able to deliver good services. That said, there are going to be service level changes that are unavoidable. We'll talk about those tonight. But we will say we believe we'll be able to overcome this with strong performance management. The municipality before we came didn't have performance appraisals. They didn't have basically team meetings to talk about the goals that we had for the week. They didn't have basically professional development plans. We're now putting that all into place. And so we're looking at developing a structure where we have management, supervisors, and basically performance management and supporting the staff to get better and plan better in terms of the work that we do. So we have less people, but we're going to work in a smarter way to be able to deliver services in a more meaningful way and in a cost-effective way. So more efficient and more effective is our goal. Okay, moving on. So This isn't simply cost reductions, but it does move towards accountability, transparency, and performance-driven results. One of the key things this council has said that they wanted from us was accountability and transparency. So we're here tonight to share with you exactly what's in the budget, which I've been doing, but it doesn't stop with the budget. The budget's the beginning, not the end. And what I mean by that is we had our summer student in today, and he's been working on the last couple days on developing a forecast year end for the town and working on a quarterly report, which we're soon going to present to council, which means here's what we spent, here's what our actuals were, this is what we planned, and we're going to be doing that every quarter. So basically a quarterly report which will speak to the budget and where we're at, and we're going to allow and again welcome any questions that they have in terms of how we're doing. We're also working very hard to manage our finances on an ongoing basis. So like I said, it doesn't stop with the budget. There isn't a fan belt, an oil change, or anything that really is going by right now without me saying okay to it. So I'm going over everything that people want to do. I'm actually reviewing every invoice and every basically request for funding. And so we're really trying to tighten our belts and create basically what I call financial literacy among our staff. We just can't spend whatever we want any longer. And actually the staff have been great about it. So we're really changing the way that we are spending and changing our accountability model for council. Okay? So we're also looking right now at developing financial policies. We are working on a procurement policy, a debt management policy, and a reserve policy. 3 key policies we believe are critical to the sustainability of the municipality. We don't want this to ever happen again. So procurement, why procurement? To make sure that it's really understood that we have to be accountable to council to spend. We can't just do whatever we want. We have to go to council, and there's got to be checks and balances for us to be able to take things on from now on, right? And we have to do that in a very transparent way. And ultimately, that's also going to be very, very transparent to the public. So we're changing the way that we spend. Debt management policy, we don't want to get into debt for the challenges that we have today. Operating debt, absolutely not. To cover off imbalances in our budget, we can't do that anymore. So we're creating a debt management policy that will keep us responsible and make us basically spend in the right ways when it comes down to taking out debt, right? And I have to say, there is good debt, and I'll explain that here later on in the presentation. The final policy we're looking at is reserve policy. As I said before, we have to start putting money in the bank, and we have to have restrictions on it. And by restrictions, I mean, what happened was you had no debt management policy here. It was all in basically unrestricted surplus, which meant it could just be spent and not really with any plan. We're going to change that now so that we have restrictions on how it needs to be spent, and if we want to change that in any way, we have to go to council. Let's go to council to ask them for that permission to be able to spend. And so again, an additional control that will help support everything. Okay? Now, what is this going to do? It's going to help restore our financial discipline. It's going to align our services with sustainable funding. It's going to help us rebuild our reserves. It helps reduce our financial risk and strengthens our governance and accountability. And so we haven't just fixed the budget. We're trying to fix basically the way that we do business in a very different way that will allow us to make sure that this never happens again. And I can say with great authority, we're not going to be here much longer. So this is something that will last the test of time for you, again, with other administrations that come in, because the rules will be in place. I think that's a very important consideration. The budget process will be aligned to build trust and transparency. And here's the thing. This council was very clear with us at the very beginning. We want to rebuild trust with our public. That is absolutely key. And that means rebuilding trust between administration and council. We worked very hard to do that. But this is something that we want to make sure maybe we keep having town halls. We keep inviting you to the council chambers. We never want to see this happen again. And so hopefully the work that we're doing now will help rebuild that trust that was lost. That's very important. But we have to prove it. Building a budget is just the start. But we have to show it in the way that we do our work. We have to show it in the way that we actually spend the money. We have to show it in the way that our financial statements will be audited and prove it to you over time. So don't take us at our word for it. Take us at how our results actually come in. I think that's the most important part. Lots of people can get up there and talk. You're measured by what you can do. And hopefully you'll see that over the next year. Move along. So looking forward, again, we're looking at continuing with discipline, strong leadership, and a commitment to, again, the direction of council. And again, we want a clear financial plan, which we are currently building. I'll say this, our work's not done yet. We're getting pretty tired, but realistically, we finished a budget which was incredibly difficult to balance, But we're now working on, again, the long-term financial plan, which includes the policies, includes forecasts, and it also includes working with our neighbors and looking at maybe a different way of looking at financial collaboration. So these things all have to be done for this place to actually be successful. I want to just maybe say one thing looking forward. Again, I do a lot of work with municipalities across Canada, and when I first came to Gibbons and heard about what was happening here, I was confused, admittedly, because this isn't a place that should be just surviving, it should be flourishing. You have a location advantage over many. You have a lot of business actually in town. You have just so many attributes that shows, and again, interest in development, there's so many attributes that shows that this town should be one of the towns that's succeeding. It didn't make sense. And so the work we're doing will get you back on track to enjoy that success. And I truly mean that. This town will be one of the towns that flourishes in the long term if you continue on this track. I do believe that. I wouldn't just say it. I have to say, I worked for Strathcona County for, God, maybe 15 years of my third year of career. So I'm very, very, very versed in basically a specialized municipality. And so when I first saw the situation, of course, I was thinking, yeah, dissolve and become a specialized municipality. I no longer believe that any longer with what I've seen because of this council and because of the community and the residents I've seen. I think you deserve to be have your own autonomy, and you deserve to flourish, and I believe you will. So I think that this plan will do that. So this budget demonstrated decisive action, and again, we're no longer reacting, we're being proactive in the way that we're approaching things. So we're always looking ahead. So the budget is about balance, but we're looking at actuals on a daily basis to make sure we're anticipating issues, and we're looking at plans to make sure that we're looking not just beyond this year, but beyond the next year, the year, and the year after that. So the plans we're putting together is really, in a sense, looking at maybe a 3 to 5 year window in terms of getting us on track, where we're managing our debt in a reasonable position, we have money in the bank, we're seeing development, we're seeing this place actually flourish the way it should. Moving forward. Okay, now here's the one I wanted to put out because there was lots of questions about this. This is probably the thing I've gotten the most questions about over my time here from the budget perspective. What's our debt at? So if we look there, if you look on the very right, you see total debts outstanding. $12.78 million is our total debt outstanding. Our total debt capacity is approximately $15 million. 15.5. So we're not at the maximum of our debt capacity. I want to make sure we get rid of that fallacy. So we're at $12.7 million. I'll say this, as a former financial planner for municipalities, which was half of my career, you should never get to this level of debt. I would say to any municipality, never go beyond 75% maximum of your debt capacity is a good internal policy, okay? Now, if you're wondering how that works, under the Municipal Government Act, they allow you to go to 1.5 times your municipal revenue. So 15 million is basically, our revenue is about 10, so they allow us to go to 15 million because again, if they figure out your revenue, what's your ability to pay the debt, that's how they come up with the debt capacity. So we're very high. The alarming part about our debt though, is the yellow part. The yellow part is basically lines of credit and operating debt that have been taken out to balance those budgets, like I said, that were imbalanced for years, and this is very what I call bad debt. I teach classes on this subject all the time, and I tell all of my students never take out operating debt. An operating line of credit to cover off shortfalls, small towns have to do that occasionally, but it's replenished in the same year. But to do this is, I've never seen it before, to be quite frank. So that debt is challenging. So that's something we got to take care of. The debt in the purple part, again, we got a sewer upgrade, good debt. That's not bad. We have the Meadows project, 39, $1.3 million. Normally okay, and I'll explain that in a few moments. Okay, I'll explain it in a moment. 132, motor upgrade. Yeah, those things happen. Motors blow, we have to take care of things. 4.5 acre development, 3.2. This one's rough, okay? That one's a rough one. And then facilities and the fire truck, okay? So two things. The two key ones there that caused us issues is the Meadows project and the 4.5 acre development, because definitely $5 million was put out for development, and without cash flow coming in to cover it, that's the kind of thing that sinks some municipality, and that's what happened to us. We put out $5 million without an assured cash flow coming in to cover off the payments and make sure that we get that money back, because we didn't have a proper local improvement bylaw and we didn't have proper development agreements in place. We're working on those right now. And we have assuredness that we will be able to recover this money, and that's why I put recoverable under there. So this has been a lot of work. We're not quite there yet. And again, transparently, we'll be the first ones that come to you that says that this may not work if it doesn't. But this is basically that money that we said would come in, but we put to reserve if it doesn't. That's where the money comes in. We're actually working to get this money back. I have some assuredness that we will, at $1.3 million at the Meadows, we might see that as early as this year. And we now have an agreement in place with the 4.5 acre development. We have basically an agreement in place that we might see $400,000 a year for the next 15 years to cover off that debt. So we're getting it back. And so that was lost before we started, but it does look like we'll be able to recover it now. But stay tuned. I got to get back to you on that one because we still have a lot of work to do, or the people that follow us will have a lot of work to do on that one. So moving on. Underneath what you'll see there is the payments. People have asked me about this. We are paying the debt off. So this is in the budget right now. We are paying on the operating side $500,000 a year. So by the end of, after 3 years, we are paying down $2 million of that 5.8. And capital, we're paying off, again, $274,000 in payments in 26 and then $126 every year after. Now, that's $2.6 million in debt repayment. That said, if we recover those funds, we'll likely put that towards debt repayment as well. So this is, we're saying this is kind of the minimum amount we're going to pay off, so we are paying things off. We're actually going to be aggressive in our debt payments if we receive the money from those developments, which we're really aggressively pursuing right now. So again, a good, strong debt management plan. I'll say this, after about 3 to 4 years, we will be within what would be considered a best practice debt limit, and you'll be fine. So we have a plan, and we do believe it'll work out, okay? So that's our debt situation. Moving on. I'm just going to leave you with this one before we ask some questions, we get into services. So this is something, again, as a bit of a person who often people call me basically the budget, I don't know. I love municipal government. And so this is a slide I created many years ago when I was presenting budgets, and this slide is used all across Alberta now by people who have taken my classes. But essentially, an average property in Gibbons of $396,000 is equivalent to about $279 a month in terms of your taxes. The 8.2% tax dollar increase is equal to about $283 a year or $24 a month over and above. So if I look at that total of $279 a month, what do I get? Each and every day, I get snow removal, playgrounds. When I go to sleep at night, I'm being kept safe by our fire department. I wake up in the morning, I walk on a sidewalk that's been maintained by our public works department. I drive on a road that we've actually filled the potholes on. My kids go into the hockey rink. I was a hockey dad. I loved chasing my kid all around Alberta. So I love that part and doing those things. We make a lot of memories. There's a lot that you get for that $279 a month. And I often sit there across the kitchen table with my son as he's texting me, even though he shouldn't be because I'm right across from him. We pay more for this a month, our phones, than we do for all the things that we get for our property taxes in a month. And I know, we think of a tax as, something that we get nothing for, but we get a lot. And again, I hope that you would agree with that. And we get a lot in Gibbons. Gibbons is a special place. So I really believe in the taxes that we pay for, and I think comparatively, we get a lot for a lot of bang for our buck. So that said, okay, next one. That's just our balanced budget. If everybody wants to go through the details and ask me any questions, you certainly can. We will be posting this presentation online, so you'll all have it. And then next slide. So that's it for the budget. I got service level changes, but I want to stop here because, again, we want to hear from you and we want to hear from council. So I'm going to open up the floor to questions.
Or if there's any possible no interest payments.
Sorry, can you say that again real quick for me?
Can you go back to the budget slide and tell us where it says principal payments, are any of those interest deferred or no interest? And if not, what is the interest rates?
All of these they're just straight principal repayments. I don't have anything built in the forecast as of yet for the interest only portions. The principal, I don't have a breakout right now for anything regarding that principal section, so I can't break any of those sections out, but all these are just straight, this is principal repayments. There's no interest on any of these payments in this table. The interest is separate of these amounts. So this is just, these numbers are straight principal payments in the table. Pardon? No, we pay interest still on all of them. Yeah, we just haven't detailed anything. We're talking about the principal in this one here, specifically.
Go ahead. I don't think it's working.
So was there any deferred interest? I remember hearing talk of that before.
No, no deferred interest. We have deferred principal on the all the blue ACFA loans. It should be LTLA now, but all of those loans we did a deferred principal portion that was repaid. So the principal gets reintroduced starting in 2029 for that one.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Daniel Fair. A lot of you people that were here know that back in 2023 I ran for council, and I figure that I'm not going to recriminate or put blame on anybody, past councils and that. I guess the saying goes, it is what it is. My concern is that I bought my house in November of 2004. So that would be 22 years this November. And since that time, I have seen nothing but an increase in our tax base. Everything that we get from this town has so far been an increase. The cost of garbage pickup, which we have to roll over from GFL and whoever, has increased. Water increased. Everything is increasing except for one thing that I've noticed: service. So my main concern is it's going to cost me approximately $6,500 this year in taxes just for the municipal tax coming from the town. Okay? On top of everything else, I know that the town does not have any control over what the province deems as the equitable value in your home, the tax base. But what my concern is, and my question for everybody here is, I'm hearing layoffs, I'm hearing reductions, I'm hearing everything else. But I live in a cul-de-sac, and when I see in the wintertime that there is a buildup in the gutters on the sidewalk to the street on 40th Avenue that is 1.5 feet tall, and when they come in to plow, they refuse to knock that down. I am 77 years old, and I wound up with a sprained bad wrist starting because in order to not be charged again by the courts and everything, when somebody walks past my house on the sidewalk and they slip and fall because the sidewalks are not perfectly level, we get pooling of water. That's one issue. Right now, we get kids out playing with these little step-on scooter things. I don't see any clearing of the streets going on in Gibbons. Maybe there is, but I don't see it. So all I can see is, coming from here, what kind of a guarantee are you, Mr. Miller, and you folks up there going to give us that the services you're talking about are going to wind up null, zero? Because right now, we're so close to it isn't funny. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm trying to look for Mr. Miller. My name is Mr. Duhamel, by the way. No problem at all, sir. I actually appreciate your question, and it's one that I've heard many times, and I understand. I'm a taxpayer too. The one thing I can assure you is that every municipality across Alberta has probably got the same type of tax increases we've had. As I mentioned before, the one thing that kills municipalities is inflation. Fuel costs us more, labor costs us more, contracted services cost us more. So as I said earlier in the presentation, we have no choice but to pass those costs through to our taxpayers. If we don't, with normalized tax increases, what happens is you eventually hit what we call our service wall. We either have to decrease services or we have to do what this place did and take out operating loans to cover off our services. So we go through a process which is a very transparent process with councils, and again, they're your representatives, and they put the heat on us as administration about tax increases, and we try to do our best to pass on what we consider reasonable. I understand though. But the fact of municipal government is that they're always going to be increasing because we're always faced with cost increases. Yeah. I know. Okay. So from that perspective, I will say I'm not necessarily in disagreement. We had one thing, I will just to maybe give us a bit of a break, probably one of the most difficult snow clearing years on record. It seems every time I get one of these jobs, it's like the worst snow year that happens. I think it's snow follows me around. We had a difficult year, but could we have done better? Yes. Yep, I will say that. We could do better. And one of the things that we've talked about, as a team is performance management, performance appraisals, better training. We actually have we have a great public works team that we are now training 3 people on the grader driving around in our yard right now because we only had 1 person who knew how to drive the grader last year. We now have 3 people that are in training, and we have a company that came in on contract services that's agreed to train our staff on the graders. We're trying to get better. So I don't disagree. We're working at it, and we are committed to getting better as a team. But again, I think we have the right people here. Our staff are very committed, and they're willing to be trained. They've said to me themselves, we just never had anybody really push us before. Right? So they're trying. So we'll do our best. Come to see me next year or call me next year and let me know if things improve because we're sure going to try, sir. I promise you that. Okay? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dennis Mitchell. I've been a resident of Gibbons since 1980. I have a couple of questions. First off, which area is the Meadows?
It's just off Lunan Drive.
Just off
down.
Lunan Drive.
Yeah.
Okay. What's that new area called that Landrex is trying to develop?
Riverside.
That's Riverside?
Yeah.
Riverview.
Riverview. We got 2 Riverview area plans from what I heard from the last.
There's 2 ASPs.
Yeah.
Right.
2 possibilities.
Yeah.
Okay. One of them says we're going to have 57 homes in that area under one plan.
Yeah.
The next area says we're going to have 337 separate residences in that area.
That's the
now,
old one.
just a second here. You got 337 separate residents going into that area. You got 1 road coming in, 1 road going out. 51st Street is a freeway. The road coming in and out of that area is going to be another freeway. Why don't we join them at the end? Landrex is going to put that area and build it, okay? They're going to put an emergency exit for emergency use only if there is a problem, if there is an emergency. You ever try and get 337 separate families out of 1 road, driving any type of vehicle that can possibly exist? Jasper burned. Fort McMurray burned. They're going to evacuate Whitecourt. If Landrex doesn't put a level crossing, a legal level crossing that could go in and out of both ends of that thing, we're going to end up with problems because we got dirt bikes going through there and all kinds of public utility in through that area. I drove a 40-foot vehicle for 40 years. You try and maneuver that in there, get a fire truck in there when everybody's trying to get out, good luck trying. Realistically speaking, it doesn't work. And if we're going to let them go ahead and do that, then we need our heads examined. As far as your training goes, for 3 years I argued with Eric Lowe that water goes downhill. Okay? And that comes from a little incident that happened in my back alley, where on 51st Street there is only 2 catch basins, both on the 51st Street section. There is no catch basins going all the way down to 44th and around Poplar Drive, just the 2. And Eric had the grader going down, and the back alley was graded like a country road. Well, if you lived on the west side of the back alley, you got a lake. They cut down my next door neighbor's part behind his driveway 7 inches. They ran into some concrete behind my yard and bent my fence. And I made a special deal with Eric and the town council that I wouldn't ask them to replace my fence and straighten it all out if they would grade the alley properly. Now you want me to wait another year, so it's going to be 4 years? All you got to do is take the blade that way, and the water is going downhill.
Council, do you want to answer these questions? I do have some answers, but I'll let council speak and then I'll jump in.
I think there's a little bit of confusion with regard to the land recs development.
Excuse me? I can't hear you.
Good?
That's better.
My mic, the first mic wasn't on, so I apologize, sir. I think there's a little bit of confusion, and because I shared it with you, with regard to the land recs development. The first one that was approved, and Tim, you might be able to remind me of the year it was approved, 2012, 17.
Something, yeah, something. It's
A
an old
while
one.
ago, was the property that was over 300 plus units. The development that they gave the open house to on, I've lost track of time, Tuesday, is 57 units. So it's a significant reduction. So just wanted to be clear with regard to that. So it's not the 300 homes, individual homes that are now going into that area. There's absolutely, sure, possibly some additional concerns, but I just wanted to qualify as far as that is concerned. I also wanted to amplify something that the administration team has very much taken on. There were some challenges, agreed, within Public Works, and the training portion was what was definitely lacking. And sir, you're absolutely correct. Water does run downhill.
Yeah.
So I do truly, within my heart, believe that we need to give them time to take the individuals who are working there, who are remaining working there, who are all very, very strong, and let them have the opportunity to have their training and development moving forward. So I completely understand. It looks like it's probably going to be another year, but hopefully with resolution for you.
I have no problem with that at all. We're getting training. The last thing I understand about the land recs, and this came from the mouth of a previous councillor, that when land recs was proposing that area, there was going to be an animal rescue place put in there. They were going to put that in as a donation. There was going to be a rehab center for disabled veterans. And the third thing was going to be what I believe was referred to as a Boys and Girls Club down in that area. We have the area here for that. Now, if it's a Boys and Girls Club, is it not, I understood it to be, from the previous counselor, it was going to be a rehab center for Indigenous and troubled youth. We have a center for that, or in that area, in Bonaccord, just south in Bonaccord. And if we're going to put that, and we've cut down on policing budget, now who's going to protect us? I don't want to have to sit out in my backyard with a shotgun to make sure that nobody's stealing anything out of my yard, because some of the troubled youth are helping themselves to things. If we're going to have a center for Indigenous and troubled youth, or any kind of troubled youth, put it over in Morinville, where they're close to the RCMP, because we've budgeted to cut down on patrol services. We can't take care of it.
Excuse me. What I can say about the land recs deal and what might be going over in the donation lands they're giving, they talked about, what they had indicated, there was just suggestions at this point. There was nothing in black and white that says it will be an animal shelter or it will be a rehab center. Those are just suggestions of what might go in there. So and we still have to approve it.
Okay.
So it's not in black and white to exactly what's going in there.
Okay.
And just for point of clarification, it's only the budget or the bylaw has been reduced. RCMP that has not changed the level of RCMP coverage we have here.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yes.
I'd like to speak, give you a bit of an answer there too. Regarding your concerns with what may or may not be going in there, we don't necessarily agree with what's been proposed. So we are going to work hard to make sure if this goes through, that everything is done correctly. And we hear your voices with what you guys do want and what you don't want. So I just wanted to let you know that, yeah, we don't share that vision necessarily, and we want to hear from you to have a control and have a say with what does and what doesn't go in there for sure.
Now, I thought some of these things need to be brought up now because, you know, from what I got was spoken to me all truth and honesty.
Yep.
So I think everybody else should know that that was possibly one of the proposals. And if you fall asleep and let the council be led down which other path is done, or they've been taken, or they've been coerced into taking, then we become victims of our own undoing.
Yeah.
We said no future development that cost this town any money. So any development going forward, 100% ironclad is in development agreements. We don't put out a dime. That's what we said.
Then we might get.
Sir, if you don't mind, sir, I think if you could get in line, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I just wanted to
just
add
before
that.
you leave.
Oh, you go.
Thanks. With regard to the secondary access, we're all very big on that, and it's very important, not just in that area, but also in the south end of town. One of the biggest obstacles we have with a secondary access that's a full-time access is getting permission from CN Rail, since it is crossing their rail line.
Are we trying right now to get it?
Yes.
Let's not try and get it after we get the unity.
We're trying. This council is pretty
Lessons were
diligent about
learned.
good development. The one thing I would like to say, maybe this will help everybody a bit, is again, I've been doing this for a long time. If I had $1 for every fancy drawing I saw from a developer that said they're going to build us a new spray park or a fancy dog park or a nature center or whatever it might be, I'd be very rich. The reality of development is that they actually, under development agreements, have to give approximately 10% of the land to what's called municipal reserve, basically a playground or a park or whatever. They're obligated. So they're not doing us any favors, guys. So if you think, again, it's the typical thing that developers do. It's okay. We'll probably get a park with some trees and everything else, so lower the expectations, but we're going to protect ourselves, right? It's just the normal things that we see in development. We're going to do things right, but the reality is I wouldn't depend on all those things, and nor it's just part of the development business. But we're going to protect ourselves in terms of basically making sure that development is done at no cost to this town, and they'll give us the municipal reserve that we are owed from a park space perspective, and that's the key thing.
I've got a question regarding the 8.2%. Is it being added to what we paid last year for taxes, or added to the much larger assessment that we received this spring?
If I may, I'll speak to this. Assessment increases don't necessarily make your taxes go up. So say, for example, if we charge $1 million for taxes and everybody's assessments goes up, we actually reduce the mill rate so that we only charge for $1 million. What matters about assessments and why they fluctuate is assessments are used to compare you to the average in town. So if your assessment, you built a new garage or finished your basement and yours went up, you'll pay more taxes compared to your neighbors. But assessment fluctuations don't actually increase your taxes.
Okay,
now,
that's what I wanted clear.
So and the greatest example I have is I bought my first house. I can still remember hyperventilating in 1998. It cost me $160,000. I look back now and go, wow, was I ever lucky. But literally within 4 years, the house doubled in price. They didn't double my taxes. The taxes basically were massaged basically with the mill rate to make sure that we didn't pay double taxes. So that's how it works. Assessments fluctuate, but it's about comparing you to your neighbors. That's all it does.
Okay, no, that's fair.
Okay.
And the 3% extra on utilities, is that added just to the utilities, or is it added also to that extra $25 that was thrown in last year that was supposed to go to reserves and never did?
The 3% is added on top, and we do have a plan to replenish and make up for the $25 charge, which was meant for a capital project. Now, we couldn't fix everything in a day. We do have a plan in the long term to fix the tax rates. And we're committed to that in our long-term plan. But I'll be frank, we needed to put some in utilities because we need to replenish the reserves and start taking care of that. But we're going to try to massage the rates down and increase the taxes where they should be. It's a bit complicated, but so it is over and above, but we're going to fix that situation as well.
Okay. And I'll get my last point in, and then I'll let somebody else have a turn. I've only lived out here for 2 years. So I did not bring in the previous council. I just kind of got them. I only have a single income in my home because there's just me, because the cats and dogs, they don't earn anything. It's a challenge to have this extra 8 and then 7 and 7%. I don't get a raise like that every year. So it means while I'm also dealing with inflation, my budget personally is getting considerably tighter. So it's not something I think you can fix, but it's just something that you should be aware of.
It's a very fair statement. It's a very fair statement. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, I apologize. I showed up 10 minutes late. My neighbor texted me, said there's a meeting. So all I can ask is moving forward, we're going to have town hall meetings. Let's have something in the mailbox. Look at the empty chairs. I mean, this place should be full. Fair enough. It's a minor fix, but let's have better acknowledgement for the people, information. Secondly, I showed up a little late, but if I'm not mistaken, our taxes are going up 8.2% this year.
That's right.
Okay, 8.2 next year.
We're projecting 7% next year.
7% and 7%
And 7% and 7%. We're trying to keep it even. Yep.
Plus 3 for utilities and everything else.
Pardon me?
Okay, when my question with the development, last meeting we had, it was mentioned that there's no future development moving forward. But I guess previous council approved something over along the whatever, that's still going forward? Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I
With
was distracted.
Landmarks, Landrix is still moving forward their development?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a piece of land called Riverside that Landrex is planning on now. They're the ones who are in charge of the meadows. And they're also the area south of A&W and the Tim Hortons. They didn't develop that, but south of that is about 55 acres that is tied to that local improvement that we're going to enforce a local improvement bylaw on to recoup our money. So we're going to try to get them to develop that, but if they don't, we're still getting our money back.
So just so I understand, if we have development in residential, that increases taxes and it helps the town out by having more residents, correct?
More than that, actually.
Understood, okay.
Yep.
When the council, we voted for you, when you have a meeting that's that important on having a welfare place for horses or animals in an indigenous area, we all need to be part of that in conversation. Now, whether it's done in a gymnasium like this, because going through this, what we went through, I've been in this town for over 20 years. My wife grew up in this town 56 years. Going through this can never happen again. So we need to be understood, full disclosure, everybody understands everything, but a lot of people don't understand everything. They don't see it. So we need to have a better, again, information going out to the people to have better conversations. That's one of the things I have. Well, another couple things, or one more, sorry, I'm just taking the notes and I'm writing down my phone. That's the way I do it, technology. Service cuts. Again, I was 10 minutes late. So service cuts. Now, I can understand people's issues with the street cleaning, but I also seen the poor buggers sitting there with the bobcat shoveling gravel. Is our equipment that we have right now fixed? Is there repairs needed? Is that all part of your plan to make sure that every piece of equipment we have is good to go?
So we are depending on our public works team to let us know what capital needs to be fixed. As far as I've heard, our capital is in pretty good shape. One thing I wanted to mention to the gentleman about the alleys, just today we were looking at the possibility of a new piece of equipment that helps grade the back alleys in a better way, because doing it with a grader doesn't work very well. So we are looking at our equipment as part of our service level increases, but we're also having to do that, and we need to be careful this year because we need to prove that we can put money in the bank. And then we're going to start looking at long-term capital replacement, but this year, we don't want to take the risk.
Okay.
Yep.
So, just so I understand, again, sorry, there's going to be a vote coming up on path A or path B.
Yep.
Your path that we're paying you for and everything else, and the councilors are hoping for, and the town's hoping for, to stay at town with path A.
Right.
Is there going to be a conversation at that time? Because a lot of people don't really understand what's going on. They're not here. They don't get the information. They don't have Facebook. Is there going to be a moment where Mayor, yourself, and the councilors can sit here and tell everybody, Plan A, pros and cons. Plan B, pros and cons, before we have the vote, just so everybody's up and understands exactly what's at stake? I fully don't know.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And it's not us that's putting it on, it's the government's putting it on, and they'll notify every single homeowner here in town, taxpayer in town, when that date will be.
Okay.
And then they'll present both options and what it will look like if we stay at town and what it might look like if we become Sturgeon County. And that's going to happen end of May, first part of June. And then at the end of June, once the people have been informed what it might look like, end of June, June 24th and 25th is when the vote takes place.
When he comes here and has that conversation, it's probably a good idea for the 7 of you up there to have another meeting just before the vote, just to explain very clearly with accuracy on exactly what path.
Can I ask, basically, I'm hearing the sound isn't working by many people saying they're not hearing things, so I'm not sure. I find you need to talk right into the mic, so maybe that's the issue. But
Sorry, I hear myself quite loudly, but.
Yeah.
No, I hear you really well, but some people are saying they can't hear anything, so I'm not sure if it's.
Now, there's lots of empty seats at the front. Perhaps maybe they could move up, because I think the people in the front are doing okay hearing us.
Well, they're we have a
All
group
I'm
there.
getting at, the bottom line is for this, is I expect the 7 of you to make it very clear to everybody, you know, exactly what path is this and what path is that without the Alberta government involvement. Just so we have a clear understanding before we vote.
I agree with you that, yeah, we should make it clear what this path is, what that path is, because there's been a lot of misinformation that's been stated. We're all accessible through email. The majority of us have Facebook. Our cell phone numbers are on our business cards. Please feel free to reach out if there's something you don't understand, and we will do our best to help explain it. But it is noted what you're saying about more advertisement. The only thing is cost. So I don't know. Maybe I'll print it at home and shove it in everybody's mailbox. Thank you.
Hi. I appreciate your questions and your comments. Everything you said, I agree with everything. And one thing to understand too is that we are residents as well. Like for me, I know I want to understand what I'm voting for, what I'm deciding, what direction. There's pride, and then there's foolish pride. I mean, if if option B was far greater, far more affordable, far more shiny than option A, then then that would be the route, right? I'm not gonna try to hold on to my position as councillor or try to hold on to our title as a town if it means like paying loads of extra money and losing services and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to do that. So definitely we want the information as well. And then as far as reaching out and everything like that, I want to have conversations with people like yourself. I want to have conversations about the development. I want to hear from everybody. I want to hear everybody's voice. So when I'm speaking with Tim, when we're sitting in meetings, when we're deciding on what direction to go, I know full well what the people want. I know what you want. I know what everybody wants. I know what I want. I know where I stand, and I need the confidence from all of you, so I can stand there and I can make my decisions and I can feel confident that I'm representing you properly. So even before we're done tonight, if you want, you can come up here. I'll take your number. I'll give you my number, and then we can kind of stay in touch, because that's something I'd like to do, is to be in touch with people like yourself.
I think we should quit crying and give these people a chance to get a hold of this stuff and get it sorted out. It isn't going to happen overnight, but we got a whole bunch of new people that want to do it right and give them a chance. It isn't easy. Just like the guy who shovels snow. I got 10 years on you, and I do it too. But I do it because I like it. I'm a fool. But we do, you know, I always got told the Lord helps him who helps himself. So I do a lot for myself. And I clean sidewalks and stuff for people that can't do it, and look down the road and see physically fit people. We have a snow removal bylaw for sidewalks, and it's one of the most ignored bylaw on the whole damn book. You know, when you look out the window. So, you know, everybody complains, but sometimes those people gotta stop complaining and start leading the bandwagon.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you, former mayor. Tim, could you just pull up that one slide that indicated the 4.5 acre reimbursement tally? Yeah, I just, you kind of glossed over it, and I just wanted to ask, what is the negotiation tactics, or what is the win-win situation? Because you're negotiating with land directs to try to pay back some of that money, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I guess it's not a negotiation. We have a letter on file that says they agreed to a local improvement methodology, which means that we need to create a local improvement bylaw that's enforceable, and then we need to tax it. And so it's pretty simple, basically, but the problematic issue is that the way it was done before was done wrong. So the local improvement bylaw was done with the wrong land parcels. The local improvement bylaw was flawed in its terminology and the way that it was worded. So we're creating a bylaw which enforces that land to be basically paid back over the 30 years as agreed by a letter that we have on file. So it's not necessarily a negotiation, more than an enforcement of the deal that they agreed to.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't one of those win-win situations where we had to give up a pile of items.
Well, we already spent the pile of money.
It's great to actually get that money back.
Yeah, one of the things maybe that would help is the nature of development cost and charges is that municipalities will put the infrastructure in the ground because they want to receive taxation dollars from the development, because that helps our financial sustainability. So they'll front the cost of the capital, which is pretty typical. But the agreements are normally is that it's attached to what's called a local improvement bylaw or a offsite levy bylaw. And once those bylaws are in place, then you can enforce basically development charges around the development, and that's enforceable, and then they have to pay us. That wasn't done. So the money went in the ground without the proper work being done, and I've done those things before, and so that's what we're working on. It takes some time, but I can say this with assuredness, we do have opinions on file that says that this will be enforceable, and we will recoup that money.
Perfect, yeah. That's great news. I just wanted to make sure we were going to get some money to help the town. Yeah. Next question. Now, with regards to the 54 lots or the 300 plus lots, what actual say do we have in that? Just because all the land actually was purchased by land directs, so I know they have to go through the protocols of development permits and stuff like that. Do we have any say, and will it be just a council and administration procedure, or will this be open to the public so that we have some sort of say?
There's definitely, and again, council may want to speak to this, but there's definitely a process that we can go through to request and negotiate for developments to be done in a certain way. And again, through land use planning and bylaws and our municipal development plan, we can enforce things to an extent. But I'll say this just for everybody's awareness, and I think it's one of the things that makes our country special, and quite frankly, the way that we work, is that we can't control what people do on their land to an extent. So they are the landowners. We can negotiate under our land use bylaw and our municipal development plan what types of densities and things like that go on there, but they have some control. And the one problematic issue that occurs is that I can say, because I've seen it, when developers take a town or a municipality to court, usually the courts will side on the side of the developers when they really push what they want on their lands. That said, it's still open to negotiation, and I'll say this council advocated very hard in the last meeting that we had with Land Recs, and Land Recs seems to be open to those kinds of discussions right now. So we're doing our best. That's the key thing. The one thing I'll say, just for awareness around the Riverside development, is that we have very old infrastructure that was put in the ground many years ago, which is water and sewer infrastructure, that falls under the new offsite levy bylaw that we'll be putting together. That means $2 million of non-debt money that's on there could possibly come into the town. So that's a very big opportunity for us. I know that there's always going to be controversy around development. That's always normal. There isn't, I've seen it many years. The Bremner development, for example, in Strathcona County was 10 years of discussion at the council level before they approved it. So there's a long way to go here, a long runway. And this council is advocating very hard for the right things to be put in that development. That's the best we can do.
Perfect. Now, future development? Oh, go ahead.
Can I just, one thing. There was an open house on Tuesday for anyone in the community who wanted to speak against, for or against, that development or raise any concerns. I'm not going to lie. I was surprised that there were only 3 voices that raised concerns with regard to that development. As Tim indicated, there are 2 landowners for that parcel of property, and it's difficult for us to say no to a development. One, it's financially beneficial for the town, but there's not a person that's sitting up here that wouldn't have absolutely listened to every voice that came to that meeting and the concerns that they raised. The unfortunate part is there weren't a lot of voices raised. The concerns with regard to access are all of our concerns because that's a safety issue. But I'm not going to lie, I was surprised that there weren't more people vocal with regard to the development, but there was an opportunity.
That I fully agree with you, and both myself and Anita attended that, and she was one of the voices speaking to those issues. It was the same type of event that happened back in 2009-ish, roughly, when Landrex tried to develop across the street from us, and they wanted to have 0 lot line houses with garages backing out onto the main 51st Street that would have then shut down all traffic flow if there was one accident. So there wasn't a lot of people that came to that event. I'm glad to see there's more people here at this event. We need everyone in town to come and express their opinions, because development doesn't happen if people express their opinions and they're not in favor. The people still, sort of in this country, still have the power.
I agree with you 100%. People need to
Curtis
speak
Toll,
up.
longtime resident.
Hello, I'm John McBain, a pretty new resident, less than 2 years here, and I've really enjoyed living in Gibbons. I think it's a great town, or possibly a great hamlet, but I'll still be living here no matter what it turns out to be. What I'm a little concerned about is the word transparency. It's a very popular word, but it's a lot harder to implement than it is to talk about. I was glad to hear there's some plan to improve transparency going forward, so there's more involvement with town residents with what's going on with the town itself. But I'm wondering about the details because, for example, a very small thing, even watching the slides, I found that it was very hard for me to read some of the slides because there's a lot on one slide. And again, in terms of communication, some of the slides were very general, some were spot on, talking about the different cash flows, operating versus capital versus the third cash flow. But a slide like the one up there, it's a lot of numbers. It doesn't have too much explanatory detail. I'm wondering what the plans are to provide transparency both between now and June so that we are very well informed when we make our vote, and also in the future, because that was talked about, but I don't know if you've been able to focus on how to implement that. By the way, I have to compliment the present town council on transparency compared to previous ones. From everything I hear, you're doing a much better job, so thank you.
Thank you. We have increased our transparency. We speak out about what we can. We're all available on social media. The town halls, I was part of the previous petition to get a town hall. We're offering them up just because we're not perfect. We're not there yet, but it's only 6 months in, and we're fighting. We want to hear from you. We keep encouraging people. Email us, call us. We want to hear your voices. That's why we're here. Thank you.
So I got a question. I look at your budget. You say you have $300,000 of savings in contracted services and professional fees. Yet your budget shows that you're actually spending $295,000 more.
Yeah, so what happened there is we saved money in $300,000 from year to year in current contracts. We moved what was in the salary expenses previously. So what was in the CEO salary and the CFO salary and the assistant sales salary, we moved down that to contracts for 1 year because we're there. So it wasn't an increase, it was a reallocation from salaries to contracts to compensate for us, but we're gone at the end of the year.
They were always contracted.
No, there was a salary, there was in the salaries area. Ryan? So the contracted services.
Yeah, no, so within the budget, they were listed in the salary section.
They were.
But I've reclassed it into an actual contracted service now, so it shows properly.
So they were
So
contracted.
then you don't actually have 1.2 million in employment savings. You've only actually got 900,000 in employment savings. Which number are you off?
That's not correct. So we calculated the salaries based on the 14 people that we reduced was equivalent to $1.2 million exactly. We then moved 300, well, I don't know, this is the contracted salaries that were contracts, but were under the salaries incorrectly. We moved those down to contract services because we're contracted staff right now. Once we leave, if council so chooses to hire those as permanent salary positions, then it would be moved back. But it'd be incorrect to put them in the budget as salary positions because we're not staff.
So if you say you're leaving at the end of the year, why is it in the 3-year outlook?
Pardon me?
If you say you're leaving at the end of the year, why is your contracted services in the 3-year outlook?
That's, again,
And increasing.
We are leaving, I can guarantee you that. So it's going to be.
I hope so.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Again, crickets. It's up to council to speak to that, and they're not, so that's fine. He said he's glad.
Is that better?
No, it's worse.
That's worse.
There, right, whatever you're just doing.
Could you just maybe repeat what you said to council, please?
So the budget shows contracted services increasing from roughly 824,000 to about 1.19 million. At the same time, programs supporting youth and vulnerable residents as well as essential public services were reduced or eliminated. Which specific contracted services account for that 295,000 increase, and why were those prioritized over community supports?
Maybe slow down just a little bit and then repeat that because it sounds like one word.
I've already asked it twice.
Pardon me?
I've already asked it twice, and I've asked the council.
Okay.
They can ask me that. He doesn't need to. And I've repeated it.
We're trying to help, sir. So if you could.
Sorry, can you just say it slower, but
The published budget shows contracted
not-
services increasing from roughly
Excuse me, sir.
824,000.
Sit down. If you can't behave and you can't have proper decorum and etiquette, you're going to be asked to sit down or leave.
I have
Okay?
proper etiquette, sir.
The way you're behaving is not proper.
Pardon me?
The way you're behaving is not appropriate. Nor
Really?
is it wanted in here.
Really?
Thank you.
I believe you invited me here. You told me to come here. Would you like Hero Barak's etiquette?
we do want to hear you. It's just we can't. So
what the heck?
We want to hear what you have to say. So if you could calmly say it again, but a little bit slower, so that we're not getting the echo, I would appreciate it.
Is that better?
I think
Let's
you,
see
you
here.
just have a very loud voice. Try taking
I
the
have a deep
microphone-
voice, yeah.
Try the microphone a little bit further
That's
from
what I'm trying to do. At one time, you guys said I was too far. Now you're saying I'm too close. So.
Just you have a loud voice
Is
and
this
just
good?
really echoes.
Is that good there?
I can hear that.
Okay. So, basically, we got 824,000 turning into 1.19 million for contracted services. At the same time, programs supporting youth, vulnerable residents, as well as essential public services such as the bylaw officer, which I believe is contracted services, is being reduced or eliminated. What specific contracted services account for that 295,000 increase, and why were those prioritized over community supports?
I'll explain it very clearly.
I've asked for the mayor to explain it or council.
Pardon me?
I've asked for mayor or the council to explain it.
Go ahead. They can explain it, but okay, go ahead.
There was a change, excuse me, there was a change from wages that were moved down into, as the interim CAO has already indicated, has moved from wages to contract services because they are not an employee, they are a contractor. When that contract ceases, we will then reallocate back to wages. That's the reason for the increase in contract services. It had absolutely nothing to do with a reduction of service to the community. It was a change from wages to contract services. Initially, you also made an indication that the previous administration were all contractors. That is an incorrect statement. There was one contractor, and that was financial services. The others were salaried employees. So if you want to be aggressive with us, I really honestly suggest you be aggressive with correct facts.
I suggest you be aggressive with the correct facts as well. Our last permanent CAO was a contractor.
But
He was a contract
but it was-
employee. I FOIP'd his contract. He was a contract employee, which is different than a contractor. That means that we paid for his, like the employee deductions, we paid those. He didn't have his own WCB contributions. He didn't have the things that would be required of a contractor versus a contract employee. So there is a difference. Thank you.
A contract employee or a contractor is all liable for that themselves. Yes, they are.
I think the key thing, though, your question is where they were in the budget. So whether it was a contracted employee or not, it was in the salaries section. And one thing I want to make clear, Farrell's contract was $240,000 a year, salaries and benefits. Monique was $170,000, salaries and benefits, and then plus more. The assistant CEO was $150,000. Those three contracts were combined, put into contracted services, and we're not taking one dime more than what they were paid. And that's been a policy that's been around here for a long time, that I'm making $500,000, I wish. We're being paid no more than what they were. That was a deal I made with this council, and that's a reasonable deal for what the work that we've been doing, right? So we're being paid no more than your former staff were. And it's just been reallocated from the staffing section down to the contracted services. So there's been a reallocation of approximately $500,000 for the former staff that were paid here under the contracts.
If I may intervene, the other thing is that you're thinking it's just one person or two people. It's not. We're getting a whole team. We're getting this situation we are in currently. I believe, to quote Mr. Miller, what hasn't been seen since the Great Depression. We needed somebody with the expertise and the skill set, and that's going to cost more. But we are getting a whole team. We're getting IT. There's so much value. Plus, we're all a new council, and it does benefit you that we are doing extra training online. We're getting strategic planning. We're getting so much more than what you think we're getting. And like they said, it's a movement in the budget in categorization.
Like I say, we can agree to disagree, but even at 500,000, I believe if we add up what your two companies are taking, it's about 660,000 in a year.
So it's
about
again,
160,000 additional.
Again, it is for three positions at the going rate, actually less than what we charge other clients for the same work. But it's actually at the going rate for CEO, a CFO, and an assistant CEO. But you're also getting, on top of that, a summer student, my IT resources. I have 3 CPAs, not one, 3 that are supporting the town. and plus our strategic planning and everything else, until you're getting actually 6. At times, you've had support with 6 or 7 people. You got a summer student working full-time for the town right now at no extra cost.
Yeah, that's fine, but how long is it going to continue? Because I think we can all agree that a town of this size can't, even
when we leave
even
your
Farrell's salary was too high for a town of this size.
I think what's very
like,
important to
I've said
understand
publicly that somebody of your nature and your organization's nature is needed in a short-term basis, as long as it stays that.
Yeah.
But it's also been said online that there's no intent for you guys to leave. Now you're saying that there is within a year, which I can respect a lot more.
There's always been an intent unfortunately, the intent for the Bloom team to leave, because you are absolutely correct. We can't afford them. They've been an absolutely amazing resource for us. Very, very quickly assessed a terrible situation and actually moved through it. So this is an interim solution for us, and this council is very, very confident and very, very pleased with the work that the Bloom team has done. Sorry, my apologies. We will continue to have them as long as they'll have us, but they've indicated to us that there is an end time for them.
Yeah, and that's respectful. Like, at the end of the day, what they've done is good. 95% of their budget is commendable. It's what's needed in this town to drop the fees and everything else. I've stated that publicly. It's not all bad, but this town cannot afford to be paying administration $600,000 plus a year.
We also agree with
Just wait,
you. Do
I'm
you
not
have a
done.
second question? Do you
I
have
don't
another
interrupt
question?
you. Please
Do you have
don't
another
interrupt me.
question?
Pardon?
Do you have another question?
Yeah, I got about 30 of them here. We'll be here for a while. Pardon? Yeah. You gonna stop a tax-paying resident's right to speak politely? You've already threatened me once. I have not been rude. I have not sworn at you. I have not done anything.
So we have citizens who are leaving because they don't want to listen to you anymore.
That's great. I'm a citizen as well.
Okay, we're going to give you an opportunity to ask one more question. Then the
No,
guy.
I'll be asking all my questions before I sit down.
You'll give other people a chance to speak as well, sir.
If you notice, sir, I did. I politely waited for everybody else. Yeah, and he can speak once I'm done.
If you can't speak without yelling, then don't speak, sir.
Hold on. Let's just.
You're the only one yelling here.
Go ahead. You deserve to be heard. Go ahead. Finish your questions and we can move on. I have to say, this is awesome. Go ahead. Just if you can finish your questions,
I'll
we'd
even skip
appreciate
some
it.
that you've somewhat already answered. So basically, are you guys confirming that the interim CAO and corporate services director were sole source?
Yes, sure they were.
As they normally are.
What's your justification for that? They're not typically sole source. There's typically a public advertisement. According to the New West Trade Partnership, it's required to be publicly advertised if there's an intention to pay out more than $75,000 to one entity in 1 year.
Well, I agree with you. If you look at our procurement bylaw, that isn't up to par, and I agree with you on that. That's not what is required in our procurement bylaw.
Just because your procurement bylaw lacks what's required at the provincial level doesn't mean that it's an excuse not to do it.
For sure. And I will tell you that we've been in 6 months, just 6 months, and we walked into a storm. So was that the least of our concerns when we had help at the ready that had a plan and was ready to hit ground and go running and has proven himself with his team? Yes. So will we take that one on the shoulder? Sure.
I think we can all agree that at the end of the day, you're not supposed to be sole sourcing contracts. One of our big issues in this town is from these little back-end deals. It's funny you guys aren't concerned, but the municipal affairs, the local minister, local MLA are very concerned about this relationship.
They should be, because they knew all along.
They knew all along.
Yes, they did. I can confirm it. I have emails. I was speaking to them continuously, as other counselors were, as a former counselor was. Yes, they should be concerned. Do we have a working relationship with them? Yes, but they were all aware from the jump, and as a citizen, I was continuously writing letters as well as being really into the legislative compliance review. I was sending them information at least 3 times a week, if not speaking to them as much.
Yeah, and I believe you did that compliance review wrong as well. That's why it was rejected.
Okay, one more. And then we'll move on to the next
No,
one.
one more.
Please. Yes, thank you,
No,
sir.
it's an open town hall. You did not put a limit on the questions. We can
Sir-
publicly ask questions.
Sir, if you would ask your one last question, then go behind the person that's patiently been waiting behind you, and then you can ask more questions after that.
You know what? I'll see you guys all in court. Filed tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Wow.
Hi, my name is Kim. I'm a fairly new resident. Just moved here in November.
Welcome.
Just wanted to ask 3 very quick questions. First being, when we go to vote for whether we go with Plan A or Plan B, is there a certain percentage of residents? So if we have 3,500 residents, is there a certain number of residents that have to participate in that vote for it to go either way? Or is it, how does that work?
I believe, from what I understand, it's 51% of the votes tallied.
Okay. So if only 10 people vote,
That is correct,
6
yes.
people have to vote. Well, that would be
Absolutely.
sad. Second thing, just to follow up on the other gentleman from over there, that said that, we just need some way to get it out that there are these meetings. I'm OCD. I saw it on Facebook. I immediately put it in my calendar. But then tonight, I'm sitting there going, okay, I haven't seen anything else posted on Facebook to remind us that it's tonight. Is it really tonight? So then I Googled on the town website, and sure enough, it said it was here. But like he said, if you don't have Facebook or you don't, whatever, I don't know, and I know everything costs money, but there needs to be some way to get it so that everybody knows that they should come. I mean, you're not going to ever have 100% because some people are like oblivious to what goes on around them. Some people really don't care. They know what's happening, but who cares? Anyways, just my 2 cents. And third thing, when do the tax bills come out in this?
June 1.
June 1st, they go to the mail?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, in regards to the advertisement, sorry, Charlotte, that I think since the utility bill's are already going out, to put something like this added into the utility bill would be beneficial.
Oh, so it'll probably come with the June utility bill then?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and it's due by the end of June?
And as far as the viability information session, the government will be contacting just like they did the last time.
Yeah, we all got a letter
Yeah.
in the mail.
So
Yeah.
that's going to happen that way as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Just to follow up, I agree with what you're saying. I guess it was also on our electronic sign, on our electronic billboard.
Oh, okay, the only thing, I must drive by every time it says if you want your bill.
But
That's all
yes,
it ever says to me.
duly noted. We will do our best to put it out there. I know many of us have our own counselor Facebook pages. We put it out on there, and there are a couple of residents that are amazing at putting things out on
Yeah.
Facebook. But we will do better. Thank you for your
No,
input.
that's good. And if that big board would be good, but it obviously needs to be a longer blip because I don't roll through the stop, I promise.
Check. How is the mic? Can you hear me, council?
Maybe just. No, it's just maybe right into the mic. Yeah, just right into, there you go. There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, test.
Good.
Okay. Good evening, council, administration, and residents. My name is Dan Buren. I'm with municipalmedia.ca. In 2013, I was elected to the Thorhild County Councilor, or to the council. That's where I met Councilor Harris at orientation in Morinville. I went through absolute hell in Thorhild County. What I'd first like to encourage the community is seek the peace as much as you can. My community was turned inside out by municipal affairs, and I see their tactics here. I was doing some consulting in Chestermere. That community got absolutely destroyed. I was there consulting for a short period. I I was the ledge services manager for a short period of time as well. I had one file of $400,000 that they're separate. I'm just giving you this as an example to see what's happening across the province. So their severance was capped at $75,000. There was $600,000 dispensed, $200 for one staff member, $400 for another. Municipal Affairs knows about it, the RCMP. That was one of the files I was looking dearly to work on, but unfortunately, things didn't work out there for me. That council ran on the basis of transparency. They got outright attacked by Municipal Affairs. So when I was on council, we were on council for 4 months, and Municipal Affairs, the briefing notes to the minister, stated that they had phone calls. That's what they had, was phone calls. And they instigated an inspection, which was illegal and unlawful, and Municipal Affairs has been doing these illegally for at least 30 years now. Probably prior to, right around 1994, when there was a major MGA review. So what is so concerning, it shocked me yesterday. I saw that Mr. Johnsrud is no longer the official administrator, and Desiree Corey was just appointed. Well, I believe if you look on my website, municipalmedia.ca, you will find a preliminary review and preliminary review debunking information. Well, Desiree was part of that with a fellow by the name of Travis Nosco. You'll see their names on the report. Well, that report in the minister briefing notes was not authorized by legislation. And
Sir, may I ask, do you have a question, sir?
so what I'm doing is just sharing with you that that was all false information. Municipal Affairs is just, from what I just saw yesterday posted on social media, the ministerial order, and that's got to be the same person that's been appointed as an official administrator that published false information about Thorhild County. And that preliminary review is illegal. It's not authorized. It says right in the briefing notes that it's not authorized in legislation. And what they told us, it's voluntary. So they outright lied to us, had us go through this process, and then they used that to information in an inspection. Well, an inspection is never to look into conduct. A public inquiry is. So I'm not trying to bombard you folks. I was trying to condense it, but what's happening here is you councillors have to make some serious noise. And what I would do is demand a municipal inspection, and you can develop terms of reference. I'm willing to come out and do a town hall and step you folks, the administration and the community through the process. I know it very well. I had a laugh the other day. Some councillors.
Sir, we're going to have to ask you to ask a question. There's people waiting.
So what I would like to do, what I'd like to do is come out, share my situation, encourage you guys to all go on my website, and as a municipal entity, the way you people act, you can act, try and get the facts, because that's what an inspection or inquiry is about. It's not a punitive process. And you can stop this corruption that's moving from community to community.
If I may, we've asked for a viability review. We've been through a compliance review. I think we're going through a process, and quite frankly, I mean, there's always going to be challenges between the province and municipalities, but right now, you know, we have a relationship with them, and I think right now we're, you know, there's some concerns, but overall, I think the relationship's good. And so, if there's anything else, or
well,
there's somebody waiting to ask a question.
Sure. And in closing, An inspection and inquiry, the evidence is documented by oath or affirmation.
Sir?
And that's where you would have.
Sir, I totally respect your voice, but at this point in time, I think it's a little bit off topic and offside, and we do have a resident just behind you. So I would ask you to leave the podium and let the resident ask his question specifically to this open house, which is on the topic is the budget and the viability review and the town as itself. So I truly I respect your voice, but let's move on to our citizens.
So, well, thank you for your time, and I encourage.
I would just like to say, if you wouldn't mind emailing us, if you wanted to email us the information, that would be helpful, and we could have dialogue that way.
Yeah, I could email it. I'd like interaction from council, admin, or the community.
I was gonna ask for your contact info if I could, I could come down there.
Sure, I'll give that to you. And my goal wasn't to be contentious or anything, but I just wanted to give you all council administration and the community some words of encouragement.
We're just worried about the people behind you waiting to ask your questions, sir, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Seems our town has gotten ourselves in a little bit of a mess. We voted for a new council. They've been doing a wonderful job, working hard. They hired people to help us get out of our mess. They've been working hard. But there's that cloud that hangs over our head that's not going to go away. And beginning of June, we're going to have to make a decision. Plan A or Plan B. We haven't heard from Plan B. Always saying you're Plan A. So we haven't heard from Plan B, so we're just waiting and waiting. I wonder what's going to happen. What are they going to do? What's our options? We'll find out. But my question is, that cloud that hangs over our head is that total debt that was put up upon us from previous council. When do you expect that cloud to disappear
It's a fair
and
question.
sunny days to start coming? And that's one question.
Yep.
Now, with the tax, you said 8.2%, 7.7 over the next couple of years. We've heard rumors that, and we've seen it on the news, Gibbons going to be hit with 30% tax increase, 80% tax increase. Can you publicly say that, no, you're not going to get no 30% increase, no, you're not going to get no 80% increase, we're going to hang around that 7-8% increase, which we can manage. You know, it's happening everywhere. Look at the city of Edmonton, look at communities throughout Alberta, throughout Canada, they're getting hit. So
On your first question,
yeah,
as I said, we have a debt plan. We're paying down at minimum 2.6, but we have some recovery plans on development charges. We're hoping to aggressively get the debt down more. I'd say within 3 to 5 years, we're hoping to be at what we consider sunny days from a debt management perspective, and so I'm in a much better place. But it's going to take 3 to 5 years to be able to get into a really good place. So that's that's part A. Part B, to your question, definitively we've developed a plan, 8%, 7.7, and we mean it. But we've had to make some really hard decisions to get there, and so that's from my perspective. I'd like to counsel maybe to kind of, to give you the definitive answer from a budget perspective. Yes. So council, what are your thoughts?
5 years to be at what on our total debt in 5 years from now?
Pardon me?
Besides seeing that 12.7. In 5 years, where should we, if everything goes right, at the end of 5 years, where would that 12.7 be? What would that figure be?
So we go down by 500,000 a year on the operating lines right now is what I have forecasted in the plan. The fire truck loan is done as of 2029, if I remember right. What's the other one in there? Those are the big ones. The water meter replacement one is gone this year, so we're going to be down, by the 2.6 million. That's a low number, though. There's another principal portion that I can't break out currently in 2029. So it's probably closer to, if I had to guess, 2.75, 2.8 that will be down. She'll get down to about 10 million after 3 years, and then after that it just steadily decreases by the same amount.
So within 5 years, you're saying 3 million?
No, it would probably be closer to 750, 1.5. Yeah, so you'd go down a minimum of 1.75 to 2 million over the 2 years after the 3-year period. So we're going to continually steadily decrease it. It's probably, again, at a high level, just doing math in my head, you're probably looking at about 4.5 million, I guess I'll say, is a round number for after 5 years.
So after 5 years, 4.5 million, you're looking at that 12.7. Yeah. Okay.
But
the other question was, can you eliminate what people were saying, the rumors of 30 to 80%, like 8%, like I said, 7%.
I think
8%, 7%. We can live. But
that was the whole point of this evening, sir. Was
Yeah.
honestly, is over the last 5 months we've worked very diligently to develop a financial plan, which included a lot of hard decisions to get to 8%, and we can again definitively guarantee that 8% is what we're going to charge this year, and 7. But we have to right size our services and staffing to get there. But yes, that is right now the plan that we have, and there's no surprises behind it. So that is our financial plan, and that's the taxes we'll be seeing over the next 3 to 5 years. 8 and 7s.
So will we see a 30 or 80% increase?
Nope. Nope. That's the work that we did to, again, right size our services and our staffing. So we started at 120, we got it down to 50, 60. Then we went to council, asked for if they'd be okay with some service level reductions. They said yes. And so then we developed a plan around decrease. For example, the rink will be closed in the summertime. That's one. We're, again, a little bit less, not pothole filling, we're doing that, but less line painting, things like that's another one. There's a few others. Bylaw is going to be cut down a little bit. We're going to be more reactive on bylaw than proactive for a little while, but we're going to be rebuilding those things. But on the most part, services aren't going to be any, like what I call catastrophic changes, but there are changes for sure.
Just letting you know, as I feel as a citizen, personally, for me, I can't speak for everybody else, but 8, 7, and 7, in that ballpark, I'm comfortable with. Maintain the course you're going, we'll be fine, but like I said, we need that information going in there that all of a sudden, okay, yeah, we got you guys, you've got 3 years come down, the 8's gone, the 7's gone, the 7's gone. All of a sudden, oh, shit. Sorry, guys, things didn't go quite well. You're getting hit by 30%.
Yeah.
You're going, what the hell do we do?
That's a super fair question. One of the things that we did, I mentioned, in the discussion, is what we call conservative budgeting in our world, which means that the revenue we put in, we know we're going to get, and the expenses that we put in, we know we can control. So that is our budget, and so we have a very strong, controllable budget, unlike what you had before, which was dependent on revenues that may come in and may not. And that was the problem: is that the revenues didn't come in, but it was overly expensive. We're not doing it anymore. So we've fixed all that. And so we are 100% confident with good management, we will hit that 8% for sure. And council, question, comments?
I'm from here. I've been here all my life. My wife will make me move if that were to happen. So that's under my watch, and I don't think so.
Thanks, Martin.
I just want to reiterate, if we thought that we had to tax our residents to a point that they couldn't afford to live here, we wouldn't be doing it. We'd just hand in the keys and walk away. We fought really hard for this. We had to make some tough decisions about what to cut, how much to cut, where to cut, and with guidance from Bloom and their team, we've done so to a point that we feel that it hasn't impacted residents, but of course we still have to. The other point I wanted to make is Sturgeon County has stated that we would pay our debt. So even if we dissolve, we're going to pay this one way or another. They have also stated, it was stated to me personally, that we will not get a seat on council. They will divide us into 2 wards, and they'll take us on. So we wouldn't have an actual resident on council. Therefore, we wouldn't necessarily get a say.
Okay, just one quick statement, and I'll sit down. on transparency, when you're going to inform the public of what's happening, tell it to them all. Like, tell it all. Example, the grass clippings. Everybody was going, what? Huh? Who? And then, what's your options? We were told it's closed, but we weren't told these are your options that it's closed. Yeah, it was a decision you had to be made. You save money, great, thanks. You saved us money. But give us the options. And when somebody asks a question on social media, because that's where we get our communication not going on, be kind enough to respond. Because I've asked questions, no response, nothing. People's asking questions, no response. We don't know. We work 6 in the morning to 6 at night. We can't pick up the phone and call the town. Otherwise, that town's phone is going to be ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing, answering the same question all the time by 60 different residents. So, thanks for your time and the great work you've been doing, and thanks for everybody letting me speak. Thank you.
Thank you. I just, I want to say just one thing. I'm not going to lie. When we talked about viability, and when when we talked about Val, you're having a real hard time with that coffee mug tonight. When we first got in and we really truly began to realize the dire strait that the town was in, I was the first person to say, Hamlet looks really good. Hamlet looks good from a perspective of I'll pay lower taxes. Kids are all grown. It's my husband and I. What services are we using? Okay. Fast forward to 6 months, and the fact, I saw the I saw 1.5, not 2.1. I saw 1.5 imbalance in the last budget, in the fact that the land that's next to my house, they were budgeting as revenue, the sale of that land, which still hasn't sold, thankfully. So I really didn't think that balancing a budget inside of the first 6 months was going to even be remotely possible. I absolutely didn't think that we would be able to pay down some debt inside of a year. And I now believe that that's all possible. I do also believe that in time, and perhaps with partnering through the industrial heartland, revenue sharing, partnering, collaboration, whatever we want to call it, I not only think that becoming a hamlet is a bad idea, I think staying a town is a brilliant idea. From a financial perspective, from an accounting perspective, I believe in the budget that they've put forth. It makes sense. And I do believe that we can remain viable and that we can remain a community amongst ourselves. So that's just my statement.
Once again, Curtis Toll, longtime resident of Gibbons. Just wanted to stay on topic, so Councillor Morrison reminds me that it has to be a budget-related question. Just want to see, after the departure of our consulting team that has come in and saved the town, just want to know, who are we replacing that role with? Is there another CAO, or is it the administrator that everyone can see and meet on the YouTube of council meeting at 9 o'clock last Tuesday night?
What we can tell you is when the Bloom team has come to an end, believe it or not, the previous council hired them to hire a new CAO. So that would be their gift to us going out to ensure that we get a very good person to fill that role as a CAO. So that's the plan going forward.
And is it only just the CAO wage, or will we have another assistant CAO, an administrator, and financial one as well?
Well, we'll need a.
A town this size, we never should have had an assistant CAO. We don't. Yeah. No, we won't have one.
We do need financial support, obviously, and I have to tell you, there's actually a lot of nuances to municipal finance that are a little bit odd. The fact that y'all love it is beyond my comprehension. But so there's still a finance team that has to be there, an element. Whether that's, on site, whether that's contracted, we don't know yet. But one of the things, as Charlotte just mentioned, Councillor St. Germain mentioned, is that the previous council actually brought the Bloom team in to hire a CAO as a headhunter. So, and we thank them for that. Thank them for the introduction. But also, to address some of the concerns with regard to, we didn't put it out for tender, that contract in that time. They were thoroughly vetted and investigated by just about, if not all, persons on this table. And so much so that we contacted some of their clients to actually get a little bit of insight and recommendation as well. So they didn't come in blind and without knowledge. But moving forward, we will have a CAO. We absolutely will not have an assistant CAO. We were overstaffed in this town by about 30%, and that's been right-sized.
And now with regards to financial support, because we won't have the Dial a Friend contract, is what financial officer or subcontract will be put into place, and is that reflective in this budget?
I think what's really key and important is what we did when we took on the contract. We actually took the exact salaries that you paid your Director of Finance, Corporate Services, your CAO, and your Assistant CAO, and we used that for our contract costs. So you have ample funds to pay for a CAO, a Director of Finance, and no longer an Assistant CAO, but you are going to need something, what we would probably call a Director of Operations, which would help with the leadership and basically the training. And so you have ample funds to move that money from contract services back up into salaries, and that's what we plan for, to make sure that you had enough money to hire people. I can assure you this, though, it's a fallacy. A good CAO is going to cost exactly what I cost right now. A good finance officer is going to cost maybe a little bit less, right? We were about to lower ours because there was some heavy lifting, and the Director of Operations about the same. There's not going to be a big savings, so that's wrong. I mean, we're charging basically the going rate for those positions right now, and so it's reasonable, but you're covered because you'll be able to move the money that's being used for us up, and we are, again, I've told this council many times, we are county-wide. We're in about 5 or 6 municipalities doing this exact same thing in other places with other individuals. We're not a permanent solution, right? But we're very committed to this council and this community. We loved working with you guys, and I promised them we wouldn't leave until things were fixed, and we're sticking to that promise.
And with good recommendations for replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we will help find very good replacements. It's important. Getting a good CAO is going to be critical to the success of this municipality. And so we want to make sure we help do that. We do hiring for CAOs. I've been doing it for some time, and I can say this, the ones that we've hired have lasted the test of time. Redwater, Monacourt, there's been many municipalities that we've supported the hiring of those CAOs, and we'll continue that with this council.
Yeah,
we're doing it at no extra charge too, by the way. We're not charging for our recruitment cost or strategic planning cost or anything like that.
Perfect, thanks. I just wanted to make sure there was no gap in services.
Yeah.
You guys, tail light warranty, you're gone, and we still don't have a CAO in place or financial officer and stuff.
We've promised to see it through, but we also recognize that there needs to be a permanent solution at some point, and we're going to work through that. Now, again, I think after the viability vote's done, that will be a key consideration. And then we'll reassess right after that's done, and then we'll get back to the public.
Perfect. And I kind of want to just throw it out as a challenge to everyone that's here.
You want to be the CAO? Let me guess.
No. No, I just want to make sure next time all these seats are filled. So maybe a challenge to everyone here, including council, is you can't show up unless you bring one neighbor.
You know what's interesting? I just wanted to speak to that. We've done this 3 times. Every time we've had an absolutely packed house. But this time we chose to live stream, and I told councilors, always a risk if you live stream, people don't show up because they're watching at home. So that's part of it. That's part of it.
The other thing is there was the Gibbons School open house. There was something going on with soccer.
Yeah.
It was a jam-packed day for many residents.
The first meeting we had a moderator. He kept things rolling. didn't let you ramble.
Yeah.
Tim, you're great. You tiny little ramble a little, right? But I
Thank
mean,
you.
And we
Thank
get
you.
some
Ramble
people up
on.
here-
That's like Led Zeppelin. I'm rambling on. Good.
If we put a limit on the amount of questions that the person can have,
Sure.
they can then go to the back of the line and ask again, so you're not turning down any questions. But I have one statement.
Okay, sir, do you have a question? Let's move it on.
Okay.
Come on, let's go. Hurry up, question.
Okay, I have to state how long I've lived here, 640 days. That help? I live close to Memorial Park. The kids love that place. All I hear is laughter and just great noise of kids. Is there in the budget to put cameras up to find any vandalism? I understand it was vandalized and they didn't know who did it. Is it anywhere that somebody can capture it on a video if somebody else vandalizes again? Because I want that thing to stay open. The kids are having a ball.
This is not a new issue. This is not something that just happened.
There's nothing that has occurred,
No,
right? You're
it-
talking
it-
preventative?
It was vandalized last, September, October?
Thank you.
And it's open now, like it's packed with kids. And you get nothing but good noise out of it. You never get a scream like a little girl maybe, but it's, I'd like to see video so that the kids know that if you're gonna vandalize, they're gonna be on video. So, doing a good job, Council.
Thank you.
Yep. So if I don't see any more questions coming forward. Are you here to drop your resume off for the CEO job again? I'm just kidding. Oh, here we go, one more.
Well, we had comments, yeah, it was short, vertically challenged. We had a meeting on Tuesday night. It was 6 o'clock. A lot of people are working and trying to get to a town meeting at 6 o'clock when you're getting off at 5 or something like that. Makes it extremely difficult. Also, when we're talking in the council, the councilors get a question and we get a reply from somebody over the side. Could be the recording secretary who judges whether you need motions, everything like that. Half the time we can't hear the reply from the, say, in your case, Tim, your assistant who's giving some data and everything like that.
Yeah.
So the volume could be better controlled there.
Okay, thank you. We do agree we have some technology issues in council chambers, and we're going to keep working on it. So thank you.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
This could be painless.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, so we're doing this 8.2% increase or whatever kind of thing. So it's 4% on tax increase, 3% on reserves.
5.2% is for our base budget, and 3% is to support replenishment of reserves.
So when we're doing this other increase, is that 7 and 3, or is that 4 and 3, or is this just as?
No, we're looking at 7. That's 8.2,
Yeah.
and we're looking at our forecast right now is 7, which will probably be about 4 and 3.
Okay, so
Yep.
it's 4 and 3. So
4 and 3.
anyway,
We're projecting something for the base, and then 3% probably for replenishment of reserves. Yes.
So when that 3% is going into the reserve fundings, in the event of a catastrophic failure, does that come out of that reserve funding then?
Yeah. No. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a reserve policy that will speak to fleet and a number of things that would help support. Like again, so a typical reserve policy will say we're going to be replacing our fleet, our roads, whatever it might be. So we're going to develop some of that and put the money into the right compartments. And I don't know if council wants to speak to that, but it's basically it's for planning for replacement of our assets and for if something happens like a disaster. So
Say
everything.
A water main break or something
Yeah.
like that, that would come out of that reserve funding.
We would hope so, but it's going to take a while for us to get to that point.
So then what happens when that payment comes due in 3 years because you're consolidating debentures? Is there a payment coming up in 3 years where you've got a big payment again?
Correct. So 2029, the first portion of the principal payment comes on, but the reserve transfers that we'll have built into the 3-year plan, I actually built them with the idea of not having to increase for the full principal coming online. So it would just offset a difference in what we would normally transfer over to reserve, with the intent to be that it would not impact taxation. We wouldn't have a 15% jump in that year. That's why we wanted to try and smooth it. That's why the number 7 was in there. Originally, I tried to build it around the 5 to 5.5% for the 3-year increases, but to get there so that we didn't have a big jump in 2030, I had to do a bit higher than the plan was. So that's where we ended up at 7%.
That's provided that reserve funding is still there, correct?
Sorry?
That's provided that reserve funding is still there to make that, or no?
No. So all the reserve funding that we're putting away and the money that we're putting into the admin reserve, and that's just where it's been labeled to. I don't have a reserve name built out for it, but the money that goes into that reserve that increases year over year, that money it goes into the bank, it goes into the reserve. So then in 2030, when we have a 330,000, if I remember the number right, debenture principal payment that comes online, instead of putting money into the reserve at that point, it's just going to fund that debenture come then. So we won't be putting as much money away at that point in time, but I won't have to increase taxes by 15% in that year to offset it.
Well, it's 8.2% on taxes, and then the utility rates are going up 3%. So, but thank you. We're here to make you happy. So, fantastic. So, I don't see any additional questions, or anything else that anybody would like to bring up or have any questions about? You're welcome. Thanks. Fantastic. Sure.
Yeah, just very quickly. We talked about the viability review coming up, the questionnaire, the statements going out. The thing is I have a personal commitment that's going to require me to be in Eastern Canada, where we're originally from. Is there going to be a plan maybe for an absentee vote?
Yes, that is correct. Sorry. Yes, that is correct. You'll have an opportunity for an absentee vote, yes.
Super. That's great, guys. We'll work it out in the next couple of weeks, but we're planning on leaving granddaughters the highest in New Brunswick for scholastic standings in 9, 10, 11, and 12, 98.9%. And she's been accepted at Dalhousie University in veterinary.
Fantastic.
And we're very proud of that. And we will be, heading back, and won't be back until mid-July or so. But I really appreciate that. Thanks, gentlemen and ladies.
It's a mail-in vote, so what I understand.
Yes, that's correct.
Mail-in vote.
Great. Yep, thank you.
Okay, nothing else? Council, I would just like to maybe do a discussion of council. Oh, Mr. Thorpe, welcome to the podium.
It's like the slow walk. Hey, that's just old age. Honorable Mayor, Council, and esteemed administration, can you tell me how much I would be paying in taxes if we didn't have this debt over our heads?
Well, you're asking us to do a lot of math in our head tonight.
Somebody?
Well, the one thing that will help is most municipalities have debt. I would say this, we're probably about 50% more than we should have, to be quite frank. This isn't, believe it or not, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But if we didn't have basically all the payments and everything else, we'd be looking at maybe a reduction of maybe 5-10% tops.
If it helps, Redwater, who's not in our position, their tax increase is a little bit higher than our 8.2%, and they're not in the position we're in. To give you an example, so it's really difficult to put a value on it, to estimate, to say it could have been 5.5% or 4%, but just the communities close by to us are equal to or more than what we're currently going up. So,
Well, I'm just trying to figure out, we keep wanting to manage the debt instead of pay it down. I don't understand that concept. That's the same concept as the last administration.
What was
No.
what was that point?
We are paying the
We're
debt
it
down.
We're paying it down considerably.
Slowly.
No, considerably. So we've got $2.6 million right now in the budget to pay down. The two things that says recoverable, we have plans to try and recover that money. We'll likely go 100% to debt. So, you're looking at 3.2, 1.3 plus 2.6. The 3.2 is over 30 years or 15 years, I think. So we're looking at other opportunities to generate additional opportunity for debt recovery. So we're doing our best to get it down as fast as we can.
You also said that you borrowed, or at least tried not to borrow $2.5 million a couple of meetings ago in replace of your reserves.
We're not borrowing any additional money. So you just said something about borrowing? We're not borrowing any money.
In order for this council and administration to operate, you went to the province and got a loan for $2.5
The previous administration.
We actually didn't.
They gave us permission. They gave us permission to increase our debt limit, but we did not increase our debt limit. At the same time, they gave us a grant for $500,000. Utilizing the grant, we were able to bridge a bit of a runway to cash manage our responsibilities. At no point in time, the 2.5, was it 2.5? I don't feel like that number is right, but close enough for government work. That they gave us an increase to our debt limit of 2.5 million to try to help us along, but we never took out that debt. We were actually able to, with cost cuts, as well as the $500,000 grant, and the ability to use our, I will massacre the acronym L blah 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 FF, which is normally a capital grant. They allowed us to use it for operations, so we didn't have to go and take that additional 2.5 million. But I also think where you were going with that was we no longer have an ability. We also went out looking to see if we could borrow, and we couldn't because we're too high risk.
Okay, thank you.
Is that fair?
So in this situation, just to add to that, is like debt management in our perspective at this point means how fast can we pay it off? How do we get rid of it? What do we want to get rid of first? So everything that we've booked in the budget for reserve transfer, for operating reserve transfer, that can all turn into debt payment. That can all go straight against debt, realistically. It's just a matter of making that decision when the time comes, when we see what the actual surplus looks like. So there's options on the table for where that's going to happen. The big targets, the big things we want to get rid of are the lines in yellow. That's operating debt, which is bad news. We don't want any of that on there. So that's our first priority, is to get rid of that. And then when it comes to the loans to local authorities, so everything in the blue, I can't pay that off early. We don't have that option without some pretty severe penalties from the loans to local authorities group. So that one has to flow at its normal rate, but the other ones, our focus is 100% on the yellow stuff. The yellow is what we absolutely need to get rid of first. So that debt management in our heads and in our minds at this point is get rid of as much as we can as fast as we can when it comes down to it.
Hi, I've lived in this town for 45 years now, and every year we've had some kind of a fitness class, a recreation program that citizens can participate in. Is that totally off the table? Because I don't see anything that's available in the spring session, so I'm wondering if there's going to be anything in the fall, or if now we're not having anything at all. We have a yoga room upstairs that we had yoga classes in for I don't know how many years, and now it's empty. So is there going to be any kind of recreation fitness programs running in town?
Okay, well, you answer? Okay. We have cut down programs significantly. But what we've done is we've cut down programs but left money in the budget for basically what we call priority programs, and we're depending on council. For example, just recently I was told, if you get rid of Lemonade Day, I'm gonna twist your arm off. So I've heard that. And then what's the other one? Pioneer Days, I think, is another one. So there are things we're going to try and do. So if we get demand from the public and say these are things that we really want, we're going to try and deliver programs that matter to people. We're also, though, having to stop doing things that maybe don't serve the general public overall. So hard decisions. So I can't guarantee that we'll be doing it. Yoga program, I did see it in the budget. I think there's things we cut back. I think that might be one of them, but not sure. But if there's a strong enough demand, we're going to try and do as much as we can.
Okay, well, when you sign up, everybody pays a fee to participate in class. Does that not help pay for some of it?
Pardon me?
When you sign up to take the class, you pay a fee. Does that not help to pay for some
One
of
of
it?
the things about recreation programs, I can guarantee the fees never cover the cost. Again, those things are almost always subsidized. If we can find somebody who's willing to deliver a program and it can be cost recovery, then we'd be more than open to having those programs delivered in our facility. That's not a problem at all, but we have to find instructors that would be willing to do that. Usually the towns usually subsidize them.
I use the fitness center. I enjoy having the fitness programs and whatnot, so I feel you there. So please, if you want to reach out to me, the rest of council or something with your thoughts and what you'd like, because I would definitely like to see something like that continue or something like that happen.
Yeah, because I mean, that's all part of living in a small town. You can go take the class in your town. You don't have to leave town to go to take it. And it's sad now that there's no classes available to anybody.
Absolutely, yeah. So please reach out to myself or everyone here, and I would like to see what we can do about that. Absolutely,
Okay.
I think it's very important. So I appreciate that you came up with that here. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
It is a valid concern that you brought up, but I think it would be important for us to put out a survey and see what residents want, and maybe we just put out a survey and see what the majority wants. And we can't please everybody, but we can try and do our best to make sure your voices are heard on what programming people want.
Just want to add also that one of the things we're looking at doing, and we had brought it up, is, and it was just brought up recently, is as far as what has been cut or what's not, it would be nice if we did a chart for the residents, including ourselves, because we're residents, is if any cuts that have been done from Public Works, have a list of what's been removed. Anything from everything, if we can have an itemized list of what would be, or what's gone, or what's eliminated, or what's cut back, I think that would clear up a lot of confusion for everyone. And I do believe that that's something that we could work towards as well.
And if it comes down to it, we'll have yoga with Councillor Burak.
I'd pay not to see that, but anyway. Okay, I see nobody else at the podium. Going once, going twice. Any other questions? Okay, you're funny. So what I'd like now, just to finish things off, is basically each councillor to give you their thoughts and maybe overall their thoughts on the situation from a budget perspective and viability perspective, and then we'll end this evening. So thank you. Go ahead, council.
Yeah, I guess I'll start. First of all, thanks everyone for coming. At the end of the day, you look back to where the town was 6 months ago to where it is now. I think it's remarkable the distance that we've traveled in such a short amount of time. Personally, deep down, I think that this town will survive. It'll thrive. As Tim says, this town should flourish. There may have been some mistakes made along the way, and we're here to correct it. We want to guide everyone through here, and we want you guys to communicate with us as much as possible so that we can then speak up on your behalf and speak up for the best interests of the town. The Bloom team has done a fantastic job in their budget. This town will survive. It will thrive. I think we're well on our way to. Well, we're going to be in the papers. We're going to be books. There's going to be articles written on us. But I think for all the good reasons. I think for all the right reasons. At the end of the day, we have to stay the course. We've made some tough decisions, And I think that this budget is showing that we can do it. And just all I ask is that for people to bear with us and let us continue, and we will do what's right by the community.
I echo everything that Councillor Burak says. And being from this town, being here all my life, that's why I'm here. That's why I decided to run. I care about this town. I care about all of you. I care about all the residents. And I fully believe, that this town should be thriving. There's no reason it can't thrive. This has been a difficult journey so far, a lot more than I think any of us expected or anticipated. It's been a lot of work, a lot of evenings, some weekends, a lot of emails, a lot of, everything. But in my mind, as difficult as it has gotten at sometimes, it's worth it because we care so much. And that's the only reason we're up here doing this. It's not for notoriety. It's not for the pay, believe me. It's none of that stuff. It's because we care about this town, and we're trying to do everything right. And I always believe the answer is in the room. So that involves all of you guys. It's not just the 7 us up here. It's not just us and Tim and Ryan. It's all of you as well. So we want to hear from you. We want to speak with you. We want to know your thoughts and feelings, and we want to make this thing go. And for that, it's going to take all of us.
I'll keep mine short. First, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. First and foremost, I would like to apologize to everybody here, including those that are watching the live stream, my fellow councilors, and to Tim and Ryan for my very unprofessional outburst earlier. I do apologize. As for tonight, some pretty good information. Hopefully we were able to answer most of the questions. It's not an easy road, but it's starting to look a little better than it was 6 months ago.
Yeah, much the same as the rest of the guys. Thank you for coming. It was an important night. We got a couple important dates coming up as well with the viability review. Our budget, lots of work went into our budget to get it balanced. Like I think Ashley had mentioned earlier that we never thought our first year out we'd be able to balance the budget considering the condition the town was left to us in. Lots of hard work. We managed to do it with a tax increase, yes. Minimal from what was initially thought out of the chute. And hopefully going forward, the town can continue to move in that direction in a good way.
Thank you, everybody, for coming, for your valuable input. We do appreciate that. I'll say ditto for what's been said, so I won't repeat that. But I think always on my mind is the communication aspect. You always kind of hear it. If you have some ideas, please let us know. We're all accessible through phone, through email. The town has a newsletter. Unfortunately, we don't have a town paper, and so we don't have access to a newspaper for any kind of town council reporting or what's happening. The town has the newsletter, but if I think we have so many different fragmented pieces of communication. Not everybody accesses them, and so then somebody uses one, doesn't use the other. But if you have some thoughts on that, let us know. So thanks again for coming.
I think the last thing I want to say is, and to leave you with, is if you want, we can be viable. So when you go to that viability vote, we can be we can stay an autonomous community, a municipality, a strong, strong community that we are. And we will get us there financially. You do have to bear with us, but it's there. I do truly, truly believe it's there. And a couple of the things we didn't talk about tonight, but they have been open within council meetings, particularly in the last, is starting to really look at collaboration with the industrial heartland and moving towards what gaining from a revenue perspective what really should be ours. So we can be viable. We just need your help.
I want to thank you all for coming.
And thank you.
Thank you all for coming. And I also believe that we can be viable. We can be the masters of our own destiny. We will not be beholden to another municipality. We can decide for ourselves, and we can do this if that's what everyone chooses. But regardless of what you choose, get out and vote.
Good job.
Okay. Thanks everybody for coming, and look forward to seeing you again probably during the viability vote discussions. Bye for now.